Okay, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to make a start on the, a proper start on the actual conversion side of this van now. Most of the bodywork is sorted out, still issues with paint, they're ongoing, but we're just going to crack on now with the actual conversion, sort any other bits and pieces out afterwards. So the first proper part I need to do to this van is cut some fairly major holes in it. I'm going to cut the side window out on the driver's side. That needs to be cut out ready. I'm going to put the flue in for the boiler, and the electric hookup point will also be cut into the side of the van. Also put a little skylight in for the front one. We're having a Maxxair fan in the front of the van, and there's a little skylight to go in the toilet. I'm not sure if I get around to doing that in this video. And the roof itself is being extended. We're having a high top roof put on the van. It's basically a roof pod that covers about 2/3 of the back of the van. And what that does is allow the bedroom more space and a decent sized garage. It just makes the whole space more livable. It's more important on this van and things like the 4x4 ones because the actual floor in the back of the van is higher. And although I can still stand up in it, it would limit the amount of usable space in the garage if we made the bedroom, and you don't want a small bedroom, so it's always going to be a compromise. But by having a roof pod fitted, it raises the whole back of the van up and it gives a good amount of space. Now, Alan actually makes the pods up here at Hunter Sports Homes, and obviously he's helping me with this conversion. And they are available on his website. If you have a look on his webpage, I'll put a link in the description. So the pods, first major part to go on the van, and that has to be fitted with solar panels and also a cutout for another skylight in the back of it. And a lot of this stuff I can't show too much detail because this is Alan's business, and obviously he's put a lot of time and effort and money into developing the way he builds his vans. I am limited as to what I can show on the channel, so I will show as much as I can, but it will be quite frustrating. I'm sure there'll be bits that you want to see and I won't be able to show you, but whatever I can show I will, and hopefully it'll make a fairly interesting series. So the first job then will be to make some holes in the van. So with that, we'll get on with the video.
Okay, so the first job you can see me doing here is removing that side panel from behind the driver's side door. But if you look at the bottom of the panel, you can see where I've already fitted the 240-volt hookup and the flue for the boiler. Now, once you've decided where these go, it's a straightforward job. They are literally two hole saws, they're round holes. But I did bond a piece of plywood behind the panel just to help give it something to screw into. So to remove this side panel, I'm using a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade, and I've drilled a series of holes in the corners basically just to give a reference from the inside out. Using the second skin as a reference guide, it's just easier to see, and then cut from the outside coming in. Obviously in places it's double skin, so it's a lot more difficult than others, but generally not a bad job, but very daunting task to do because it's a big hole into the side of your van. So a lot of checking and a lot of measuring just to make sure we're in the right place. But once that was done, it's moving on to the roof. Moving on to the top of the van, I'm using the jigsaw here to cut out a hole to fit a Maxxair fan in the front of the van. Now, we've gone from Maxxair fan just to help with air circulation. Obviously this is above the cooking area, and when the van gets really warm anyway, it'll be nice just to have a fan and help to move the air around. Now the roof here isn't very even. It has provisions for skylights or sunroofs or whatever you want to put in, but not quite in the right place for what we need, so that will have to be taken into consideration when we actually get around to fitting the skylight. But using the jigsaw, and obviously space is a bit tight there, just to cut those three sides, and then from the bottom, because the jigsaw didn't quite reach, just using a multi-tool to finish off that fourth edge. So I've bridged the two corners of the other two corners, sorry, with a bit of tape, just to help reduce the vibration, just dampen it down. and it helped a lot with the cutting, but obviously the masking tape isn't ideal, so swap that out for a bit of gaffer tape, and that works really well just to hold the panel roughly in place and just help cut it out. So once I cleaned all that up, trial fit the flange for the Maxxair fan, and got the file out then just to file all the edges of the hole and adjust it slightly where it needed, just to get a perfect fit for that flange. Now this took a little bit of time, just backs and forwards, making sure everything fitted nice and square and flat as possible. And like I say, those ribs in the roof, when we actually get around to fitting the skylight itself or the Maxxair fan, they will be taken into consideration. So once I was happy with that, the next job then was to just trial fit the pod and make sure that was fitting properly before we cut the big hole at the back so we could measure it. So we pulled the vans outside to get a better idea of the look, but the grey van you can see there is Alan's own build, which is a fair few weeks ahead of mine. But we basically just trial fitting the pod, make sure everything fitted fine where it should be, and help mark it up ready for the final fitment. But it's nice to get it outside and get a good look. So back inside with the pod removed, we're just marking up, or Alan's marking up, and he's not happy to be on camera, but the panel just to remove it for this pod to be fitted. So there's lots of different ways of removing the panel, but the quickest and easiest way is just a slitting disc on the angle grinder. Because of the undulations and the ribs and bits and pieces in the roof, it's no easy way of doing this, but the only issue with doing it this way is that the whole van has to be masked off, because you don't want those sparks landing in your paintwork. They will go rusty if they have to be cleaned. So basically just go around the hole outside, and then from the inside finish it off the ribs basically with a reciprocating saw. So once that was done, we prepped the pod. Okay, so typically as soon as I get the video camera out it starts raining, but this is the pod removed off the van. We've already done the trial fit and cut the roof out, so this is basically, it's a fiberglass pod that obviously gives the extra space. I've cut out the hole for the skylight. This is a rear skylight, which is it's just a nice feature to have when you're lying in bed. You can look at the stars basically. It also got lights built into it, and the two solar panels. Now the two solar panels are 120 watt semi-flexible panels. Okay, so that's the info on the back of the panel. Like I said, it's a 120 watt panel, there's two of them, so should be enough to give us a fair amount of usable electric. At this point the rain got so loud on the tin roof that I couldn't even hear myself think, but we're doing this by a time lapse anyway, so I've reverted back to a voiceover. So what I'm doing here is using masking tape to fix the position of the solar panel so I know where it goes. Obviously that other solar panel's already been fitted, and I'm just going to go through the process of doing this one now. So once I've found the position that I'm happy with, the next thing to do was to mark out the hole for the electric to go through. Now with the hole for the electric, although the wire is fairly small, about 10mm, the actual boss needs to go through the roof itself and it needs to be sealed in, so that needs to be accurately measured. And because the panel itself there is upside down, the left becomes the right and the right becomes the left. Obviously side to side is the same, but once you're happy with all the measurements, double check everything. Found the center of the hole and then marked it up. So the next job then was to grab the drill and the hole saw and take that piece out ready for the boss of the solar panel to go through. So the hole saw I'm using, I think it's a 44 or a 45mm hole saw, and you can see when I take the actual plug out of the saw just how thick it is. These pods are really well made. Like I said, Alan makes them himself, and he does have a couple of trade customers who fit these, and the feedback is always the same. They are much better quality and fitment than anything they've used previously, and they're really happy with them. Alan will supply these pods if you are interested in buying one, if you're doing your own conversion, or I believe he will fit them as well, but it just depends on how busy he is at the time. So like I said, if you are interested in one of these, please get in touch with him on his website. I'll put the link in the bottom. So if you are enjoying what you're seeing, and if we've been any help at all, please do hit the like button. It really does make a big difference to the channel. If you can hit the subscribe button as well, that really does help out. Like I said, we're trying to help anybody out who needs this information, and if we can grow the channel, the more people we can help. So the first thing I'm doing here then to fit this panel then was to make sure it was clean and degreased, and then remove the remains of the tape that needed to come off, and then using 180 grit sandpaper, just give it a quick rub over. Again, blew the dust off and cleaned it all up and make sure it was completely dust free. Now there is a big debate about whether or not these panels should be mechanically fixed or whether they can be glued onto a roof, and there's lots of pros and cons to both. Obviously if you mechanically fix it, you're going to be drilling holes through your roof, which is never ideal and long term can lead to leaks, and obviously people have got reservations about gluing the panels because down the line the glues have come off in the past. But modern day adhesives are nothing like old adhesives. I mean, a lot of cars now are actually glued together. I mean, you think about the Lotus Elise, I think it was one of the first one was actually, I think when they made the car they actually wanted to glue it together completely, but they weren't actually allowed to. But the glue itself is more than strong enough to hold the car together. So once I've laid down the glue with the instructions, basically it's very well instructed on how to fit these panels, and as long as you follow their instructions then you won't have any warranty issues. So those little bits of plastic that I'm putting on the roof there is just to space the roof out. I think it's I think they're 3mm bits of plastic, and basically by having a little bit of a gap, it allows the adhesive to do its job. If you squeeze all the adhesive out, it's not really as effective as it should be. So once that was all done and repositioned, grabbed a rag and just helped smooth everything over, and then a board just to help spread the weight, a bit of weight on top just to hold them in place. So I'm going to leave you here with this final shot of the completed pod ready to fit on top of the van. Please do remember to like and subscribe if you can, and I hope to see you again shortly on the next one. Bye bye for now.